Lyson is a single mother, living with her two young children, 8-year-old Tommy and 1-year-old Sophia, in a quiet neighborhood. She owns a small eatery with only 8 tables and a service counter. Although her restaurant is always kept clean, with faded red and white striped curtains, Lyson finds her business increasingly difficult. The prolonged rainy season caused a sharp decrease in visitors to the restaurant, and the cost of maintaining the restaurant was skyrocketing. While the bills are piling up, Lyson doesn't have enough money to pay next month's rent, making her even more worried. On sleepless nights, she sat in front of the bills and counted the little money she earned during the day, but it was still not enough. Lyson thought about selling her wedding ring, her husband's last gift, to have money to support her family. She tried to be patient, but her worries about the future of the restaurant, her lackluster career, and her children made her feel more desperate than ever. On a rainy evening, when the rain was pouring incessantly, Lyson was preparing to close early to return home. The restaurant was empty, and she sat in silence, looking out through the foggy glass window. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, waking her up from anxious thoughts. An old man walked in, drenched from the rain, gray hair, and wearing a tattered coat. He stood quietly by the door, water dripping down the floor. Lyson saw his tired, emaciated look, his hands trembling as he gripped his old hat. Although he himself was struggling financially, Lyson could not ignore the hunger and suffering in his eyes. She hurriedly approached, smiled warmly, and handed him a clean towel to wipe his body. When the old man sat down at the table, Lyson gently asked him what he needed. He looked at the ground, then said in a weak voice, "I haven't eaten anything for 3 days. I lost my job last month and used up the last money to buy medicine." His voice seemed to choke, and his eyes were watery. Lyson suddenly remembered the early days when she came to the United States, when she also faced hunger and thirst, trying every night to find a way to survive to have money to buy food for her children. Therefore, she understood the old man's feelings. Despite the difficulties, Lyson could not refuse him. She put her hand on his shoulder and said softly, "Don't worry about money today. I'll cook you a meal." Despite his attempts to refuse, Lyson quickly returned to the kitchen, determined to prepare a special dish for him, one that could soothe his pain and hunger, as well as warm his heart on this cold, rainy night. Lyson returns to the kitchen, where she turns the stove back on and starts cooking the chicken soup that her grandmother taught her since childhood. She carefully selects each of the freshest ingredients: pieces of fresh chicken, colorful vegetables, and rich spices. She put it all in the pot, let the soup boil, spreading the warm scent throughout the small restaurant. While cooking, Lyson can't help but think of her father, who passed away 10 years ago. Her father loved his family very much, and every time she looked at this soup, she was reminded of the cozy family meals he had prepared when he was alive. In particular, in that dark night, Lyson couldn't help but wonder if her father had also felt hungry and did not dare to speak, like the old man sitting in the corner of the restaurant. When the soup was cooked, Lyson not only served the old man a bowl of hot soup, but also added a portion of freshly baked bread. She packed some more bread and a few biscuits in a paper bag, hoping he wouldn't have to worry about the next meal. This dish, although simple, Lyson puts all her heart and soul into it. She brought it to the table and placed it in front of the old man with all the care and kindness. The old man looked at the bowl of soup, his eyes shining with emotion. When he scooped his first spoon into the bowl, a tear rolled down his cheek. It reminds me of the meals my mother cooked when she was alive," he said, his voice choking. While he was eating, Lyson sat down next to him, quietly observing him. The diner was deserted, and Lyson felt that the old man needed companionship more than food. He began to talk about his life, his years as an accountant for a large company, and the difficulties of being fired just because the company cut staff. He talked about his wife, who died last year, and the financial difficulties he faced when he had to pay for his medications. Lyson listened, shared her heart about her difficulties, about her coming to the United States, losing her husband and having to raise 2 children alone. In the quiet space, only the sound of rain falling outside and the sound of spoons gently touching the bowl The two of them felt a deep sympathy and understanding for each other. When the old man had finished his meal, he sat down, took a long breath, and felt the warmth of his body after a full meal. His skin became rosier, and his eyes lit up, seemingly rejuvenating a little. Lyson was relieved, although she was still worried about the future of the restaurant. But seeing him like this, she felt comfort from her kindness. The old man smiled, then pulled out a small piece of paper from his coat pocket, opened it, and began to write something. Lyson was cleaning up the dishes and didn't pay much attention to him, but when she saw him write, she guessed that he might leave a thank you. When the old man got up to leave, Lyson ran over and said, "Don't leave anything behind. I just want to help you." But the old man only smiled slightly. His eyes were sad but grateful, and then he put the paper on the table and slowly walked out of the shop. Lyson hurriedly followed him, but when he looked out, he had already walked out of the shop and disappeared into the rainy night. Lyson returned to the table and sat down. She opened the paper that the old man had left behind. At first, she thought she had mislooked, as the paper was not an ordinary thank you. Reading it a second time, Lyson still couldn't believe what she was seeing. It's not just a simple thank you, but a business card and a short letter. The letter reads, "I have been monitoring your restaurant for the past few weeks. I saw the way she treated her customers like family, and her dedication to each dish. She has a special ability, a combination of talent and heart. I am a person with connections in the restaurant industry. I'll be back tomorrow with a group of investors." Lyson couldn't believe his eyes. The old man, whom she had helped, turned out to be one of the most influential people in the restaurant industry. He used to be the chief financial officer for one of the largest restaurant chains in the city. The letter said he recognized the potential in Lyson's small diner and wanted to help her. The names he mentioned in the letter were people Lyson had only seen in famous business magazines, who were influential and could completely change her fate. Lyson sat quietly, her heart racing, and couldn't believe the miraculous change that was coming. She didn't know if it was true, but hope suddenly flashed in her heart. She looked at the letter and decided that no matter what happened, she would do everything in her power to preserve the diner and her family. The old man's help is a sign that life can change, even in the darkest of circumstances. The next day, Lyson got up earlier than usual, preparing familiar dishes with all her enthusiasm. She made a new batch of bread, prepared a special chicken soup, and made a pot of fragrant coffee. In her heart, a feeling of nervousness and anxiety was mixed. She couldn't stop thinking about the letter and the old man's promise. Will investors really come today? Does her restaurant really have a chance to change? The whole morning passed in a tense wait. She listened to every doorbell and looked out whenever someone entered. But until almost noon, the shop was still empty. There were no customers except old acquaintances. Lyson began to worry, wondering if she had misunderstood, or if it was just an illusion. Then, at lunchtime, a group of people in suits walked in. Lyson hurriedly stood up, his heart pounding. In that group of people, she recognized the old man from the night before, but now he had changed into a new, luxurious, and much more poised suit. He looked at her, smiling warmly and knowledgeably. Lyson realized that, although he had changed, his gaze remained the same gentle and sincere look she had seen since the rainy night. Investors sat down at different tables in the restaurant, ordering from her menu. Even though Lyson feels very stressed, she still tries to serve her customers with all the meticulousness and love. She remembered what her grandmother had taught her. Food made from the heart tastes better than any dish. Every dish Lyson brings out is carefully prepared by her. Every piece of bread, every tablespoon contains her passion for cooking. As time passed, the group of investors was not in a hurry. They ate, exchanged ideas, discussed industry issues, and documented what they saw. Lyson couldn't help but be worried when she saw them silent. But in her heart, there was still a glimmer of hope that they would appreciate her food. Finally, as the group of investors was about to leave, one of them approached the counter and said to Lyson, "We are very impressed with your restaurant. Really, this is a place with its own charm, a cozy space and amazing food. We want to invest in your restaurant." Lyson sounded like she couldn't believe her ears. He continued, "We want to help you expand, but keep the core values that you have built. We want to open 5 more branches and keep your heirloom recipes intact." Lyson stood stunned, unable to utter a word. She felt like she was living in a dream. The difficulties over the years suddenly disappeared. Her small eatery now has the opportunity to grow and develop. She thanked them, tears welling up with emotion. Dreams that seemed distant have now become a reality. Soon after, investors came up with a clear plan and started to implement it. They hired more staff, helping Lyson expand the restaurant space and improve facilities while retaining the same cozy and friendly space as before. The eatery has gradually become one of the prominent dining venues in the city. And more importantly, the dishes kept Mrs. Lyson's traditional recipe, such as the delicious chicken soup that the old man had loved. Within just 6 months, Lyson's diner had expanded to 5 branches, and she was able to spend time with her family, helping others. She still remembered that rainy night, and the old man's words changed her life forever. Thanks to a small act of kindness, Lyson not only saves the life of a stranger, but also opens up a new path for the future of herself and her loved ones. With the support of investors, Lyson can not only preserve traditional values, but also develop the restaurant in a sustainable way. New branches are opened not only in crowded areas but also closer to communities in need. Lyson decided to recruit people who needed jobs, especially single mothers and students who were disadvantaged. She understands their feelings, because she herself has experienced hard days when she first came to this country, having to work hard to take care of her family. With the expansion, Lyson not only creates jobs, but also maintains the human values she has always believed in. No one should leave hungry, even if they can't pay. Therefore, she also gives disadvantaged customers a little support, such as giving them free meals or discounts to help them get through difficult times. Every weekend, Tommy, Lyson's child, helps his mother at the restaurant. Tommy learns recipes from his grandmother and mother, from fresh breads to special chicken soups. Lyson feels happy to see her children grow up in a loving and compassionate environment. She wants to pass on to them a lesson about perseverance, respect for hard work, and especially a sincere heart for those around them. A year later, when Lyson looks back on her journey, she feels very proud. Her restaurant is not only financially successful, but also brings spiritual value to the community. She realized that sincerity and kindness can sometimes make miraculous changes, not only for herself but also for others. Every time Lucas stopped by the restaurant, he still sat and enjoyed the chicken soup, smiling like the first day. Lyson kept the card he had written on the rainy night, hanging it in his office. It's not only a reminder of kindness, but also a testament to how a small action can change lives and open up unexpected opportunities. She always remembers Lucas' words. Kindness can change not only the fate of a person, but the fate of a community. Lyson will never forget that rainy night, when a stranger walked into her shop and left behind the biggest gift she had ever received. With the help of investors and new changes, Lyson has not only changed her own life, but also brought a warm and humane working environment. She always remembers the difficult early days, when she had to struggle with the worry of money, so that now she can create a space where every employee and every customer feels appreciated. The values that Lyson builds are not just about cooking delicious food, but also about caring, sharing and caring for each person in the community. It is in her diner that Lyson not only teaches her employees how to cook, but also teaches them how to live and work with a sincere heart. She regularly reminds them that not only food needs to be taken care of, but the people around it themselves need to be loved and respected. Everyone on Lyson's team understands what it means to do what they do, to bring joy to people not only through the food, but also through the way they treat each other, the way they build good relationships with customers. In addition to maintaining the family's traditional values, Lyson also creates opportunities for those who want to change their fate. Her restaurant has gradually become a place not only to eat but also to build trust, so that people can find solace in difficult times. She invites people with special circumstances to work, helps them get a stable job, and supports them through difficult times in life. Lyson's career, from a small diner, has now become a successful and humane business model. She sees joy and pride in her children's eyes as they engage in work, learning from their mother's lessons of love, perseverance, and compassion. More than that, she knows that she is not only successful in raising her family, but also in giving the community a space full of sharing and respect. Lyson always remembers Lucas, who helped her see that a small action can change a life. Every time she saw the card he had left behind, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She knew that, from that giving, her life had completely changed and become better not only for her but also for the people around her. Lyson's change is not only in the restaurant but also in the way she sees life. She understands that true success doesn't just come from money or profit, but also from the satisfaction of knowing that she has done good for others. Every time she sees the smiles of customers and the words of thanks from the employees, Lyson feels the true value of the work she is doing. Although she may not become a millionaire, for Lyson, true wealth is when she can help, share, and spread love to everyone around her. Every morning when she opened the restaurant, Lyson felt happy when she saw the familiar faces of her old customers. They not only came to eat, but also to chat, to feel the warmth and affection that Lyson and the staff have for them. Customer stories, happy conversations in the small space of the restaurant, have become an important part of Lyson's life. She has not only built a restaurant, but also a place where people find connection, comfort, and joy. Not only does it stop at maintaining new branches, Lyson also seeks to help other small businesses, especially family eateries like her before. She shares her experience, supporting them with helpful advice on how to maintain service quality, build relationships with customers, and manage finances. Lyson understands that, only by helping each other, the whole community can thrive. She also did not forget her gratitude to Lucas, who helped her look at her life and gave her a chance. Lucas was not only the first to recognize her value, but also a dedicated companion and mentor. Every week, he still stops by Lyson's restaurant to enjoy chicken soup, and when he sees him, Lyson feels a magical connection between them. She knew that, thanks to the kindness and sincerity of a stranger, her life had completely changed, and it was something she would forever cherish. Lyson keeps Lucas' card not only as a memory, but also as a reminder whenever he feels tired. She knows that, no matter how difficult life is, kindness and kindness always have the power to change everyone's life. And she, with a heart full of love and perseverance, will continue to work to not only feed her family but also help those around her, creating a community where everyone can find solace and hope.